Hello everybody, welcome to a new video on the Heater Tips channel. Today we're going to have a discussion on how to heat a room without a heater. So this video is for everybody who has a room that does not have an attachment or that is not connected to a central heating system, or you don't want to use your central heating system or your wall attached radiator, or there is some defect in your central heating system, so it doesn't work, or your central heating system is too expensive to run. So yeah, in this video we're going to check the opportunities you have, what you can do to heat your room without the classic central heating without the classic heater in your room. Okay, first and foremost, here's the quick answer. The simplest way to heat a room without a heater is to just run electronic appliances in that room, because they produce exhaust heat. Another way is to just always dress with multiple layers, such as me, and to consume warm drinkables, such as tea, and to keep yourself warm. It does not heat the room directly, but it keeps you warm. And if you don't want to use the set heating system in your house, you can also grab a space heater to heat your room. If that might not be an option because you looked this video up and it's about heating without a heater, but maybe you were thinking of the attached fixed central heating system, so the space heaters could also be an option for you. Okay, that was the quick answer. Now let's have a look at everything in a bit more detail. So first and foremost, if you want to heat your room without a heater, it's always not going to be ideal, because ideally you produce heat using a heater and everything else is not really capable of producing that much heat, or it's only capable of producing heat, but it's doing it expensively. So ideally, you should reduce the amount of heat you need first. And you can do that by keeping yourself warm instead of heating the entire room. And that makes sense, especially in a crisis, in inflation times that we have right now, where everything is getting more and more expensive. You just dress yourself to be more adapted to cold environments. And I'm doing that myself. I'm wearing 3 layers here, and they're keeping me warm. Also below my pants, I have another layer of long underwear, so that's always keeping me warm, and it's not really costing me anything. I had to buy the clothes once, but usually you already have them, and then they keep you warm. And just adding an extra layer of clothes spares you so much heating expenses. It's like running one extra heater in your room without actually running one. So first, make sure that you are warm yourself. If the extra layers are not warm enough, maybe because your house is still too cold, or the winter is freezing cold, then make sure to drink some warm tea. I have this ugly pot here which I fill with hot tea occasionally, from this thermo cup that holds the heat. And whenever I drink some, then I pour the hot tea into this metal cup, so it gets drinkable soon, because here it cools down much quicker. Okay, so warm tea, warm clothes. Don't forget warm socks, because a lot of heat is lost through the feet. And also the feet make up a large part of how you feel in general. So warm feet, warm body. That's the German saying. I don't know if you've already heard that. Okay, now let's have a look at how to really heat your room, and not just yourself. To heat your entire room without a heater, you can just run any electronic appliances that you have standing around in your room, or you can bring appliances into that room and just run them. Now, I don't mean that you should bring a chainsaw and run that, because that would be dangerous. So don't bring dangerous appliances, but bring just any electronic appliances that consume a lot of power. And the best example, in my opinion, is just a regular desktop computer. For example, I have a desktop computer standing right next to me, which I use to edit the videos, to work on, and surf the internet. And this computer consumes 600 watts of power. Now, when you run that computer, it does not only consume that amount of power, but the consumed power has to go somewhere. And usually that is in form of heat. It gets converted to heat. So running a 600 watt computer is the same as running a 600 watt heater, which already raises the room's temperature significantly. And that's why modern computers always have attached coolers, or when you have, let's say, cryptocurrency miner or a fancy graphics card, it's always getting really hot and has to be cooled down somehow. So you can run these electronic appliances and have free heat. It's not really free, because you have to pay for it on your electricity bill. But if you don't have a heater and you're looking for a way to keep your room warm, then just get any electronic appliances. Other examples could be light bulbs. Old light bulbs are very inefficient, especially. Most of the energy they consume is converted to heat, but the new light bulbs, especially the strong ones, also have the same issue. They are also getting hot. So just turn on the lights and you get free heat. And there's an interesting story that I had with a friend just recently. We were in a foreign country traveling, and it was really cold in our guest house. And the guest house did not provide any electricity in form of the wall outlets to plug in, for example, the mobile phone for charging. However, there was a light bulb in the room that was working. And because it was so freezing cold and there was no heater, we just left the light bulb on all day. And yeah, it might sound stupid, but if that light bulb consumes 50 to 100 watts of power, then that's the same as running a heater that has 50 to 100 watts of power. And maybe in a very cold environment, that can keep the temperature up by 1 or 2 degrees even. It won't do much, but it's something. Other examples could be even larger appliances, such as fridges or televisions. But yes, at some point they get too large to be practical for moving them into your room just for heating purposes. Yeah, but get anything that consumes electricity and it will produce heat. Okay, so that's how you produce heat using no heater, but using electricity. If you don't even have access to electricity, then the best you can do, or not the best, but one thing you can do, is using a candle heater. That's just a set of candles that you place below a flower pot, also known as flower pot or terracotta pot or clay pot heaters. And then you light the candles, and the candles will heat up the flower pot, and then the flower pot will radiate the heat into the room. Now, that's actually the same as running the candles without the flower pot on top, but the only difference is that the flower pot is able to retain the heat a bit better when you vent the room, and it can radiate and distribute the heat a bit better, but you won't get more heat out of it. So just light some candles. Each candle will produce about 80 watts of heat. So if you want to get the equivalent of a small space heater, you'd need 10 candles at a time. If you want to have the equivalent of a large space heater, that would be 20 candles, which is around 1,600 watts. And that would produce a lot of heat already. However, tea lights and the small candles that you light, they only last for, say, 2 hours, depending on the size. And it really gets a hassle when you have to really use them to heat your room. Especially in times when you don't have electricity and when there's a crisis or an emergency situation, then I found that tea lights and candles in general, they tend to be sold out and not in stock. So you don't really have access to candles because everybody is buying them. So candles appear as an option first, but when there's really an emergency, there won't be any candles available for you. And it's a nice idea, but it won't work in reality. The only real option when you don't have access to electricity or access to a heater to heat your room, to really heat your room, is to do the work to install a wood stove and heat using wood or small pieces of dried plants that you find outside. And that's especially feasible when you live in a rural area where there are forests, where you can where you do have access to wood. It's not that practical in cities, but when you have access to wood, it's really great. And especially in a crisis, there will always be wood. Wood will always be growing, and it won't get out of stock because the supply heavily depends on how much people work. And if you really need heat, then you will be the hardest one working, and you will get that wood for you. Okay. So far we've covered that you always have to dress warmly, consume tea, wear multiple layers, then run electric appliances that have a high wattage, such as computers, if you have access to electricity. We have checked the candle heaters, which is not that feasible in a crisis, and we have checked installation of a wood furnace or a wood stove or a fireplace, which is, in my opinion, the best option to heat a room that currently has no heater attached. You have to install this thing. I know it's work and it's maybe not what you looked for, but without classic heating, without electricity, wood is the best resource and the most reliable, especially in an emergency situation. And if you're looking just to heat a room without central heating, then I would say the best opportunity or the best thing to do is to get a portable space heater. This is an oil-filled radiator here. It's a German branded portable space heater, but you can get these very same things in the US and other countries as well. They might look a bit different, and they might have different settings on the front panel here. But actually, to be honest, every portable space heater, every oil-filled radiator is about the same thing. It just consumes power from your wall outlet and converts it to heat. Everything else is just fancy marketing. And the best thing about these kinds of heaters is, in my opinion, that they feel like the regular central heating, especially if your central heating is oil-based and you have wall-attached radiators. Then the electric oil-filled radiators are not going to feel any different. They are going to feel just the same. They are going to heat the room just the same as the central heating. So that's, in my opinion, the best alternative if you do have access to electricity but no fixed heating system built into your room. Yeah, the downside of these portable space heaters is, however, that they are quite costly. They consume a lot of power. They consume as much power as you set on the front panel, depending on the temperature. And heating using electricity is quite expensive. This one uses 1500 watts. I did the calculations, and if you use that heater for 1 month and you use it for 8 hours a day at an electricity rate of 14 cents per kilowatt hour, then that results in electricity cost of $54 a month, which is already quite a lot. And that is with the most recent average US numbers, 14 cents per kilowatt hour. However, personally, I would estimate this number to rise quickly in the near future, if it did not already rise. So you might be having a hard time financing these things. But portable space heaters are able to cover their own costs if you turn down the central heating's temperature and heat using the space heaters instead. Now, I did a video on that and a huge research article where I calculated everything, but to really save money using space heaters, you would have to turn down the central heating by more than 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is already a lot, and then you could supply heat with 1 or 2 space heaters. Personally, I use this heater a lot, especially when supplying heat in the cold winter times, to heat up my room more quickly, or also to heat rooms that don't have heaters, such as a wood workshop or a garage. When I do some maintenance work on whatever things or projects I'm having, and there these heaters are ideal. Also, if you are having guests around and they are cold, or your living space needs to heat up, then you can use such a portable space heater. So they are always great to have. And if you don't have one right now, then I absolutely recommend you buying one. I will link one in the description down below, a model that I recommend, and which I think is very reliable and will serve you for decades. I promise you that. These things don't break since they don't have any moving parts, they don't have any sensitive electronics, they just have a heating element and they heat. That's why I personally enjoy running oil-filled radiators in my home. So check the description down below if you want to have one as well. You can find a recommendation of mine there. Okay, that's just some thoughts for you to have. Personally, I would say without a heater, the best option is to get some sort of heater, whether it's a wood stove or whether it's a portable space heater, does not matter. In an emergency, when you really can't get a heater, then use your existing desktop computer, run some games or run some video editing software, or do whatever thing that takes heavy processing power, and then it will consume a lot of power and also correspondingly a lot of heat. Yeah, okay. These are my thoughts of keeping warm without a heater. If you have any questions, then ask them in the comments down below. If you have any feedback, then let me know. Please leave a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to this channel to get regular updates on the best budget heating advice that you can find anywhere online and original research. And I hope to see you next time.